I am Prithvish, and I'll be hosting this event with my co-host Anshu, representing Students Alumni Cell, IIT Kharagpur. We are delighted to have you all for this panel discussion as we discuss the insights required to prepare for a career in finance.
So, I would like to add that the chat box is open for all the audience. Feel free to post your questions, and we'll take up the questions at the end of the session. We'll be starting with the first question. Can we go ahead, sir?
Sure. Yeah. Please call me Atharv, but yeah.
Yes, Atharv. So, are there any different types of finance roles based on the companies? Can you please elaborate about what kind of different financial roles the company sees and everything?
Uh, okay. So in terms of placements, there are multiple types of finance roles. One I would say is corporate finance, where you work on the business side of things, where you try to understand the business and have some sort of and try to propose, say, that business A should be bought by business B, or you evaluate decisions whether, say, you want to invest in company A or company B. So those are, I think, more related to require a fundamental understanding of the business. Uh, Second type of roles, such as the roles that firms like Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley, they recruit on campus. They recruit for their risk teams or operations, where you are supposed to code, or uh, you're supposed to you know do a lot of analytical work, but that doesn't require a full understanding of the business, uh, of any business. So those are the two broad buckets in which I would classify the various finance roles. Uh, yeah, and happy to elaborate in case there are any follow-ups in terms of this bifurcation.
Uh,
Thank you, sir, for your inputs. We would also like to know, sir, are there any different types of finance roles based on the company? Can you please brief us a little bit about uh, like what are the basic steps involved in the selection process for a finance role at most companies?
Um, okay, so let me give the example of one of my friends. So he is from the mechanical engineering department. He works in Goldman Sachs now. He works in the risk team. Uh, I think his hiring was okay. So two parts there, right? So Goldman Sachs is a big multinational company headquartered in the US. He and they have multiple business lines. So they have investment banking, they have commercial banking operations, so on and so forth. So they have a large global enterprise, and they recruit for various segments within their organization. Some of them may involve you have to write code. Some of them may involve working in the risk team, and some of the investment banking roles, for the investment banking roles, they recruit mainly from IIM campuses, and generally don't hire IIT folks. So it depends on the firm, but a lot of these firms like Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Nomura, they would recruit for various profiles when they come to IIT also. Some of them may be sales and trading roles, where you end up trading for the firm on behalf of the firm. Uh, yeah. So yeah, these are the various. So basically, again, to give a brief recap, it would be you could be working in operations, you could be working in risk, you could be working in the front office, you could be. So yeah, there are various dimensions within these large multinational firms. And sorry, what was the second question? The second question was on how to prep for it, right? Okay, I would say you should be focused on specifically what firm and what role you want to target. The preparation for a risk role will be very different from the preparation for a quant role, which will be different from the preparation for a trading role, and which will be different from a corporate finance role. Uh, I am and I was and I'm more interested in the corporate finance side of things, but happy to answer any follow-ups.
Thank you, sir. So moving forward, like what one can include in their CVs for the specific role they want to get, like any strategies or any projects they need to do.
Got it. I think this industry work, I think you get a lot more exposure, by actually doing internships. So suppose if you're a first year person or a second year or third year, depending on dual degree, and don't have, your upcoming CDC internships, what I would suggest is, you should reach out to people, reach out to alumni, or reach out to, people within your network and try to secure internships in a type of role which interests you the most, uh, and that is the way you'll gain the best experience and have the most and find meaning in your work. Um because at least I think finance or I think most professions, they are best learned hands on, and it won't. I mean, doing an online course or on Coursera, or reading books, or doing a research under or doing research under your professor, um, they would have limited impact. The highest impact will be if you can do an internship in a role that that you like and that you wish to explore further via CDC internships or placement. So, for example, if say you're interested in a career in corporate finance, say you want to work in equity research, which is basically that you cover say one sector, you say cover Indian banks. So there are like 20, 25 listed Indian banks, right? So on a daily basis, you keep track on how the business is doing for each bank. You publish reports. Maybe certain banks are doing well, certain banks are not doing well. So you issue recommendations basis, saying, hey, I recommend that investors should buy stock of say bank A and not and sell the stock of bank B. And suppose you're targeting that sort of role, then the best internship would be then the best possible preparation to get that role would be to do an equity research or an internship in the same field at a smaller firm, and instead of instead of just reading about it. I think that is the way I would put it.
Thank you, sir, for your input, sir. So, we would like to ask you another question like, how can the candidates compensate for not having an internships at a well known company? Like, if they want to go for placement or
Mm.
like further in their career with finance, how to compensate
Right.
for that?
Okay. So I think I have conducted a few interviews when I was in my previous job. Right now also I conduct the first rounds, and generally what I believe is you I mean, the issue of not having a brand name is not that big of an issue. It is more of a perception. If you have relevant work experience in that area and you can clearly demonstrate, your interest and your passion for that role, then I think the interviewer can also see it and sense it with the way you talk, with the work that you have done, with whatever, with your knowledge. And I think. And I mean, most people when they're recruiting out of IIT, what they're expecting is not that you know everything and you have interned at five different places and you know that this is your calling in life. What they expect is that the student should have a basic interest and should have done something about that interest. I mean, it could be maybe reading a book, trying to do an internship, uh, Yeah, maybe starting a blog post, reading various blog posts, reaching out to people for opportunities, and so on and so forth. So, what people want to see is a demonstrated sense of interest, and not that you're the master of the world in that subject. At least in finance domains, at least. Let me put it that way.
So I would like to ask another question, like what to include in a like in a person individual's CV to make it stand out of the rest, like
Mm,
certain projects.
okay. Uh, so yeah, again, CB also say suppose you okay. And this answer would be different for people at various stages of their college life. Someone who is going to appear for placements in the next 6 months, the answer would be very different versus a guy who is in or a girl who is in second or third year and has 2 3 years to figure things out. uh, in terms of corporate finance, what I would say is, having internships helps. But if you can't do that, what would help in a corporate finance role is if you can enroll for the CFA, study the CFA books, and if you can give the exam and clear it, there is nothing like it. Uh, but I think that helps. What will also help is if you can build a general knowledge and general understanding of corporate finance. It can be by reading books, it can be by watching Aswath Damodaran's videos on YouTube. And a lot of this knowledge is available for free on YouTube and in the age of AI. Uh, what you can do if you're super interested is you can actually start investing your own money in the markets and investing not just on the basis of tips or or vibes, but actually trying to understand the business, uh figuring out why that business is cheap or why is it mispriced, and then having a thesis around it. And I think all this sounds very complicated, and I'm sure when I was in your shoes. All this sounds very complicated, but once you start spending a bit of time, it is not that complicated. This is not rocket science. I think, corporate finance is fairly simple for a person of about very good intelligence like all you folks to get into if they're really interested.
Thank you, sir. So, moving forward, could you please share some of the interview questions you were asked during your finance role selections?
Okay, so again, here my answer would be more specific to corporate finance roles, but what I recall is for most firms, you should have a basic understanding of your course material, basically whatever you have studied in the 3 4 years at IIT, and have a basic sense of what you learned there. What you should also know is probability and statistics. You should know well. I think some risk roles and quant roles, I think they are notorious for asking a lot of questions based on these famous quant books like Heard on the Street or 50 Challenging Problems in Probability. I think there is one more. Uh, but you should be aware of, I think, that level of probability and statistics. You should be fairly comfortable. I think questions may be derivatives of those questions, or they may be almost similar questions, and you should be able to arrive at an approach in the interview, in the process of trying to problem solve. And it doesn't matter if you get to the right answer. I think what most interviewers are looking for is the best type of interviews is if you can solve a problem together with the interviewer, and that means that you need to have good communication skills where say you're given a very complicated problem. You cannot just stare at it for 10 minutes like you would do in an exam. What you should do is, okay, just seeing the problem, I think that there are 2 or 3 ways to approach this. uh, and then you should say that aloud, and then maybe try to take a 1 or 2 minute pause to think about it. If you can figure out the solution or the next step, then you should tell them that out of the three, I think that this is the best option because of X, Y, and Z. And if that is true, then the interviewer will let you continue. If that is not true, then maybe the interviewer will guide you. Okay, have you considered this? Maybe you should take option A instead of option B, and so on and so forth. So I think the interviewers, it is not like a battle where you have to uh, where you have to get everything correct on your own. It is much more helpful if you can converse with the interviewer and get his or her guidance uh, at crucial points. That would be one. More important, and I think that would count more as an interview tip. But in terms of preparation, I mentioned, course syllabus, probability and statistics. And in corporate finance, what they ask you is, they ask you a lot of guesstimates. One of the guesstimates I was asked during my interviews was to estimate the number of. So he asked me which college I'm from, so on and so forth, gave a brief background. He told me, can you estimate the number of crows living in the IIT campus? Uh, and the way to think about it would be that you try to guess the area, or arrive at an area of Kharagpur, and then try to figure out what is the area of IIT, and then how much of that area is covered by trees, and then try to arrive at how many trees would there be in campus of large trees, and then how many crows would be living per tree. And I'm simplifying this, and there may be multiple approaches, but you don't need to solve it all in one go. You can go step by step here, and the interviewer will guide you. So guesstimates is the third pillar. uh, Fourth pillar would be that you should know about your internships, whatever you have done in the past. And that basically includes all your resume. You should have backups, and I mean stories or backups for each line written on your resume. Basically, you whenever someone asks you a question about a line on your resume, you cannot start thinking about it at that point. You need to have thought about it before. And if the interviewer asks a follow-up question, you need to have answers to that too. So that is basic hygiene. I think that much is required during preparation. uh, Yeah, and then I think if you can, and if you're passionate about it, do try uh, and read Economic Times for 6 months prior to the exam, or prior to the placements or the internships, so that uh, it helps you connect a few dots which you may learn theoretically, and so on and so forth. Yeah, and certifications like the CFA help. If you're targeting quant roles or risk roles, then the FRM certifications play a big part. And if you're targeting corporate finance, then CFA helps a lot. In one of my campus interviews, one of my friends, he had done both CFA and FRM, and he was asked, if you were always interested in corporate finance, why did you do FRM? You should have only done CFA, or you should have done one or two more levels of CFA instead of doing FRM. And you should be ready for such type of questions. Yeah.
Uh, so thank you, sir. We would like to ask that what mistakes do you think that you made during your placement season, or what are some things you realized later could have been done better?
Mm, that is a good question. Um, Maybe one mistake which I made, and which I later realized and pointed it out to you all, is not having the best of communication skills. I think I got my jobs despite my communication skills, or and not because of them. So I think if you can try to improve your communication skills, and in general, yeah. So the communication skills would be one, and second would be that maybe if I had started investing my own money earlier, and then doing it in a methodical manner, where I select a stock and then track the company, how the business is performing, how the business has historically performed, how it is performing, and so on and so forth, then that would have also been better. I think these two things I might have done better. Maybe third one is, being more proficient in guesstimates. Um, yeah, these three.
Thank you, Atharva. So, like moving forward, how would you describe your work environment? Like, what is the culture in your company, and how do you interact with all your colleagues and everything?
Mm, okay, so after campus, I joined a boutique investment bank called Artport Capital. It has a fantastic culture. In Especially relative to other investment banks, I've heard horror stories in other investment banks, but in at Artport, everybody is very respectful of each other. They give you high quality work. They respect your point of view. I mean, the founder there is like one of the he is probably the best investment banker in India, and he is willing to respect and he's willing to listen to your views when you are just fresh out of college, on a certain business or a certain industry, or just your lived experiences in terms of. So for example, right, uh, I think one of the deals that was being evaluated, that was being considered, there was taking the mandate for Theobroma, which is a cake which sells cakes, which is a bakery here, situated in Mumbai, and it now has branches all across India. And he's willing to listen to your experiences about how you deal with the product, what is your frequency of usage, so on and so forth. So uh, I think the culture at Artport was great, and now I work in investing at Tamasc. And here also the culture is pretty great. Uh, uh, yeah, again, similar set of things. I think what people want by culture is, I think people want two things. They want respect. They want people to see that their views are respected, and they are encouraged to share them, and that there are no artificial deadlines, and people don't create work for the sake of work. I think those two things are largely true at Temasek, and it is a fantastic place to work.
Uh, so we would also like to ask that what else apart from internships can boost finance profile CV?
Yeah, I think any way by which you can demonstrate your interest will boost your chances. It can range from getting certifications like the CFA, internships which you mentioned. It can be doing actively investing in the markets and writing that as an extracurricular line. It can be watching Aswadamaduran's videos, or reading various books on investing or valuation. It can be reading Warren Buffett's letters, or reading about him generally, the books that have been written about him, so on and so forth. So any way by which you can demonstrate your interest will will boost your chances. Again, when when people are reading through a CV, what people are doing, what interviewers. So here, I think most of the questions, especially when you're in college, you only think from your point of view. You should always develop an ability to think that, okay, when there is an interviewer who is reviewing say 100 CVs, right, for shortlisting, and he wants to take only 20 CVs to, only wants to conduct 20 interviews. So what that interviewer will do, you should understand. You should try to reverse engineer his or her mindset, and you know the interviewer has has a lot of work. He or she doesn't have enough time to read each line on your resume. So there should be hooks, or or phrases, or lines that catch the interviewer's attention and which demonstrate your interest towards corporate finance or whichever role that the interviewer or the recruiter is looking for. And I think that is the way you have a good chance to be selected. The second way would be to proactively reach out to people in that organization in which you want to recruit. So, for example, you want to recruit at a large MNC bank, right? For example, Deutsche Bank, next year for the upcoming placements in December. Uh, One way you can do is you can boost your CV by the points I mentioned. The second would be to proactively reach out to people who got placed at Deutsche last year and your immediate seniors, maybe seniors 2 or 3 years earlier who went to Deutsche, and having phone calls or conversations with them, uh, uh, and building a relationship. And yeah, I think those two would be the main, would be the two vectors for improvement by which you can try to get shortlisted.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Atharva. So, like, if a person want to start they want to land a finance role and they haven't done anything until now. So, what suggestions would you give for them to start from the scratch?
Okay, that is a tough one. And you know I think people should do this role if they are really interested in finance, because I think coding is much easier to target and do, uh, because you have a large peer set who is also doing that, right, in campus. So if you have no specific aspiration towards finance, then at least my advice would be that you should do whatever the people around you are doing, so that to have the best chances of success. If you are super sold on your interest in finance and you're really passionate, but unfortunately you discovered your passion very late, and say now want to improve your chances for the placements in December, again the tips would be what you can control. You cannot do any more internships, or what you can do is try to get a remote internship, which you mention on your CV, which you do along with your college, where you dedicate say 10 hours per week or 15 hours per week, and in the areas that interest you. So the example which I mentioned earlier was about equity research. So you find a really small equity research company and convince them to hire you as an intern, part-time intern for say 15 to 20 hours per week. Work with them during the course of the semester. If you already are doing a summer internship, then do that. Work with this firm for the rest of the for the next semester. During the next semester, register for the CFA, study the CFA books, uh, and what I would say is do all the things that are only dependent on you, which are not dependent on an external party, which would be registering for the exam, studying for the exam, watching YouTube videos, reading about famous investors, starting to invest. And you don't need to do all of these activities at a very, very high level. Some of these activities you can just start, um, but they will help you to capture the interviewers or the recruiter's attention. And the final tip would be to reach out proactively to people in your target firms, schedule calls with them. Uh, if you can, go and try to meet them, especially if you have summer internships in the same city, and form a relationship. And hopefully, that is enough to get you shortlisted.
Uh, so I would also like to ask you that what inspired you to like get a career in finance, and what advice would you like to give the upcoming students who are
Mm.
probably have a bit of interest in finance to continue the path?
Got it. Okay. So let me start with the second question, which would be what advice. So, I'm super young to be giving out, to be giving out a lot of advice to anybody, and particularly you guys in uh, uh, but what I would say is finance is a very big field. Try to understand what specific areas interest you, why they interest you, and then target specific roles at specific companies. Don't run after I want to do quant, I want to do sales and trading, I want to do risk, I also want to do corporate finance, I also want to appear for coding as a backup. Um if you run after five things, it is very likely that that you're not focused enough, and you just end up going nowhere. So maybe identify one or two niches that you would like to target and go all in on them. uh, that is something I would just advise people. And the broader theme of this advice is that you should try and discover what really interests you in life. Life is too short to be sleepwalking through it, or doing work just for the sake of doing work, and doing something that you don't enjoy. Suppose I did not like coding at all, so I could not imagine doing that for 12 hours for 25 years of my career. That would have been, I mean, that really doesn't interest me. But you should try and proactively think, okay, maybe you had a coding internship, whether you liked it, whether you did not like it, and all the answers are not always binary. You should think, okay, I like certain aspects of coding, but I don't like certain aspects of coding. So maybe the career for me, the ideal career for me, is to go in research where there is some bit of coding, some bit of thinking. For example, right? I'm just making this up. But you know, constantly be introspecting to actually arrive and understand what your interests are. I think that would be one advice I would give to anyone in general. Uh, and the second question is on my interest in finance. Um, so I don't come from a business family, but I was always interested in how uh, you know in how businesses run, which businesses turn out to be great, right? For example, how did Reliance become such a big company while, say, XYZ company remained a small retailer? What allowed Reliance to win? What allowed what made the small company remain a small company? What made Google win while the other 25 other search engines failed? And these type of questions always interested and fascinated me. And I would not say always, but I started thinking about them, and I discovered them during my third and fourth year of college. And then I made a very conscious decision to, not follow the actual path from, the standard path, which is to, get a coding role, and to instead do a corporate finance role. Uh, yeah.
Thank you, Atharva. So, like moving forward, every career has its own misconceptions. And like, what are the common misconceptions about having a career in finance, and how far are they true? Like, according to you?
Okay. Uh, maybe what we can do here in this question is I can address any specific conception or misconception that the audience uh, has about a career in finance, instead of having or dispelling any misconceptions myself. I'm I did not have too many misconceptions. I knew what a career entailed. So I think asking the audience is a better way to approach this question. So maybe if anybody wants to, switch on their mic and ask a question, or if you want to type it out in the chat bot, and Prithivesh or Harshita can ask the question.
Yeah, sure. If anybody has any question, they can simply write down in the chat box.
Hi, Atharv. I'm Rugved here. I think we have spoke
Me.
one or two times, and it's nice to,
Yeah,
hear from you again. I just wanted to
that's very
understand
good.
a bit about uh, the role at, like, what's your role at Temasek, and what is your, day-to-day work, if you
Mm,
can elaborate on that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, okay. The way I would phrase my work. So, okay. So I work in investing at Tamasc. What we do is we invest in companies and hold our investment for a period of 4, 5, 6 years, and hopefully the business grows, and then we sell the business or our stake in the business, hopefully at a profit. In very simple terms, that is what we do. And then the obvious question is, which type of business do you choose to invest in, right? Do you choose to invest in whatever business? Do you choose to invest in which business is the audience familiar with? Maybe let me start with, do you choose to invest in HDFC Bank or ICICI Bank? Do you choose to invest in IndusInd Bank? Those type of questions abound, and we try to do a lot of work to arrive at an answer on whether you should invest in HDFC Bank or ICICI Bank, or basically whichever industry or company we are looking at. Uh, so yeah, on a broad level, that is what we do. Um the second question is on my day-to-day work, right? So let me give you an example. So we recently invested in this visa processing company called VFS. So what we did there is, it is a visa processing company. So for example, if any audience member who holds an Indian passport, they want to apply, they want to go to the UK or they want to go to Europe, chances are that the visa will be processed by VFS. So what ends up happening is we try to understand what this company does on a day-to-day basis. So what the company does is it collects passports, takes your biometrics, gives them to the government. The government decide collects a lot of data about you, about whatever the government requests. Basically, if you have adequate funds to stay in that country for so long, so on and so forth. Then then the government makes the decision, and then VFS returns your passport and your details back to you. So we try to understand why this company exists, what are the unit economics of this business, what is the competition like, who are the competitors, why has VFS done so well versus competition, so on and so forth. So the way we do this is, maybe what we do is we end up calling a few competitors. So we will schedule calls with, say, the CXOs of VFS's competitors. We will speak to people within VFS to understand the business. We will engage with consulting companies like, so on VFS we worked with Bain and Company. So they helped us with the commercial due diligence. Uh, then we try to understand things from a legal and tax perspective on how the business is structured, whether there are any legal cases against it, what are the mitigants. Same for tax. And then we finally make the decision. Then make a financial model on, what are the projections if if the business's revenue today is 100 and the profit is, say, 10 rupees, then going 5 years out or 10 years out, maybe we say that the revenue will move from 100 to, say, 1000, and the profit will move from, say, 10 to 200. Maybe that is the assumption we make. We make certain assumptions to get to these numbers, and then we decide what price we want to pay for this business. So for example, we say that we can buy the business at a valuation of 500 rupees, and if the seller is willing to sell at 500 rupees or below 500 rupees, then we go ahead with the transaction. uh, yeah, at a very high level, that is what we do. uh, Most of these things happen in parallel. So this is the investing part, and after investing, we keep on monitoring the company, how the company is performing versus our expectations, whether there is anything happening in the company, whether the company can buy another business, which is an M&A. We evaluate M&As for the company, and so on and so forth. So my daily job can be, basically it is split into three things. One is, say we are evaluating a new investment, which may be, say, a company like Theobroma. Then the second part would be that we are executing this investment in VFS.
उल्टा कर दिया, प्रॉफिट बढ़ा दिया और लॉस को कम कर दिया। ये जरा से पॉइंट्स की वजह से चेंज हुआ। अब मैं इसमें अपनी चीजें डालता हूँ थोड़ी।
And the third would be monitoring of the portfolio. So three things, yeah, on a broad level.
So we have another question in the chat box. Is finance from Jyotiraditya? Is finance sector also purely mathematical or logical?
Okay. So yeah, again, finance would be too broad a bucket, but what I can answer about investing and banking is that these answers are not. See, if a formula, if purely mathematics could solve this, equation on whether we should invest in this business or not, then I would be the first one to be out of a job. Uh, and eventually, right, AI can make these decisions. These decisions are you obviously need maths, but you need some sort of qualitative judgment as well, whether you know you can make assumptions on whether, say, the business's revenue goes from 100 today to, say, 200 tomorrow, and say another firm might make the judgment that the business's revenue will go from 100 to 500 in the next 5 years. So who is correct out of, so you're judging this right now. Someone is projecting 500, someone is projecting 200. Who is correct? And this cannot be judged by maths. This is this knowledge, and this can only be gained by experience. And and it is ultimately a judgment call. So at least this type of investing is involves a qualitative judgment as well as numbers. I wouldn't say it is entirely qualitative. Venture capital investing would be, I think, mostly qualitative because the business is so new. Uh, Having any numbers, the confidence on those numbers would be very low. Here, because the businesses are established, the confidence that you can have on a business to make certain numbers would be pretty high. So I would say that on the spectrum, venture capital investing would be very qualitative. Private equity would be more quantitative, would be a mixture of quantitative and qualitative. And public markets investing would be more quantitative, less qualitative. Yeah. So across the maturity curve of investing, this is how I would rank them. Yeah. Yeah, let me know if there are any follow-ups, right, to my answers. I think Rugved asked the first question and the second question was asked by somebody else. But if they have any follow-ups, happy to answer.
Sure, sir. I'll be informing you if there are any followers in the chat box. We have some other questions from Disha is asking how to make an investment report. They asked this for internship. So how to make a two-page report? What should be included and how to choose the company, etc.
Okay. Uh, yeah, I mean, this is like the entire job, right? So the way I think the way you should go about it is you should reach out to people and try to see a sample of few memos that people write, and some of these memos are available in the public domain, and you should search for sample investment memos and so on and so forth, and you will get a few samples, and you can reference that. Uh, that is one. In terms of how people generally write it or how you should approach it, you should say, and a large business is very complicated, right? For example, HDFC Bank may have 1 lakh people, so it becomes very abstract. You cannot relate to it, but you should evaluate things at a micro level. You should start thinking about them at a micro level. For example, you know uh, I was in Patel Hall. So there is the Pan Loop restaurant, right, just outside Patel. So you should think, ki, okay, if I have say 2 crore rupees, right? Does it make sense for me to open another restaurant, assuming I can get the dean's permission, director's permission, whatever? Does it make sense for me to open another restaurant in Panloop? Suppose that restaurant is available for sale. Would I buy it for 2 crore rupees? And the way to think about it would be, okay, that Kharagpur has that IIT has say 25,000 people living. They they go out to eat so many times, and there are 7 8 different choices. But now what I've heard is that there are a lot of options that have come in near tikka, where high quality fast food options have come near tikka. So how does that affect Panloop's business? Then you might say, okay, Panloop serves Indian food, so the demand is, so Domino's won't eat away Panloop's demand. And then and the way to validate this is, you can conduct a survey. You can go and talk to 100 people, or your hall people or your friends, whether your eating preferences are changing. And I mean, so again, this is a brief example, right? Uh, so you understand the demand for, okay, pan loop may, you come to the understanding, for example, that you can, the revenue of pan loop say last year was 2 crores, you come was say 1 crore rupees. You come to the realization that, with increased competition it will drop to say 80 lakh rupees next year, and then it will continuously grow at say 10% per year. And then you model it out, okay, at 80 lakhs revenue, what are my profit margins? Suppose you create a mobile app which is low cost to take orders, and you automate certain things, so you say that I can boost profit margins by this much, and so my profit at the end of the year is say 10 lakhs, and the owner is asking for 2 crores. So you say that, okay, am I ready to for a business that generates 10 lakh rupees of profit, am I ready to pay 2 crore rupees? And then you say, okay, no, I can only pay say 10 times next year's profit. And then you say my number is 1 crore, and then maybe the owner eventually agrees that you can have it for 1 crore, or he'll say that somebody else is offering me 1.5 crores for it, for example. And that is the way to think about businesses. So again, taking a step back, right, what did we do here? We first analyzed the industry. Here, what are the options in IIT Kharagpur in terms of eating out? How many people are there? How many options do they have? How many times do they eat outside food? How many times do they eat only mess food, for example? And so that is how you, I mean, that is the industry. Then you understand the competition, कि यार fast food कितना होता है versus Indian food कितना होता है. Then what are the choices in Indian food? Is Panloop better than all of them? You try to understand what is the competition. Is any new player coming in? Suppose you understand that one more guy is setting up another Indian restaurant next to Panloop, then that would affect your business, right? Then you cannot pay as much as you would previously pay for this restaurant. So you should think about it: industry, competition, then your business, revenue and generally profit and loss statement of your business, and you should say management quality. Suppose your view is that the current management is very lazy, they are not, they keep the shop closed, for example, on Sundays. Then you can come to the view that, okay, I'll hire folks who keep the restaurant open on Sundays, and that would help me boost my revenue and profits, and that is how I'll make a return on my investment. Then and the third bucket would be management quality, maybe say industry, competition, company specifics, and management. So these are the four buckets I would structure an investment report into. Yeah. So the way you would analyze Panloop is the way you should think about HDFC Bank. That is the broader point.
Yes, Atharv, thank you. So we have another question from Sahil. It is, what trends do you see changing the future of finance sector, and how is AI or automation changing the sector?
Uh, yeah, I think finance is slightly late to adopt AI. We don't use AI as much, but I think a lot of manual repetitive work will be taken by AI. I'm not 100% sure whether it can do a lot of thoughtful work yet. Uh, I've heard that it can, but here, at least in finance, what we understand is that what I understand is that there are a lot of manual interventions needed to adjust, to adjust the numbers. It is not always that, uh, I mean, the job is not just copying numbers from one screen to your Excel file uh, and forming a view. A lot of the work is qualitative also, and maybe AI helps us do higher qualitative work, uh, and it reduces the amount of repetitive manual work that we do on the quantitative side. So I hope it helps us. Uh, and on a lighter note, if maybe it automates my job, so I don't know yet. I'm too junior to understand all this. I think the top job in finance will always remain, because whether to invest in this company or not will always be a judgment call at the end of the day. And if there is a perfect answer, then the markets are fully efficient. Then you cannot make a single rupee of profit, right? Then there is no need of an investment job anymore for anybody. I don't think markets are efficient. So there will always be someone who is smarter, someone who has a more patient capital, someone who understands a business more. And hence, I think at least the decision making job will always remain. That won't be automated away. Yeah.
Yes, and we have another question from Vamshi. It goes, can you share any advice or tips for students who are looking for intern or a full-time job in finance?
Mm, okay, yeah. I don't know what is the average vintage of the audience, uh, but again, I think my views would largely be the same as what I've said before, which would be, try to learn more about it by watching YouTube videos, by reading books, and connecting to alumni or people in your network or people from your hall or people you might know in your hometown who have pursued similar careers. Have conversations with them on what their day-to-day job is like, and if their day-to-day job sounds like fun to you, then you should ask them for introductions. Ask them whether I can do an internship, whether I can do a part-time internship, whether I can do an internship without any pay, for example. And I don't know if everybody's financial situation allows that, but if whoever's situation allows that, then they should always offer that option. Uh, yeah I think that would be it. Yeah, register for the CFA, show interest. I think in IITs, the number of people interested in corporate finance is so low that the bar to stand out is not as high. So you just need to show a lot of interest, and that should hopefully be enough to get an internship. And if you get an internship, then and you continuously keep on working on your interest, trying to learn more, then you should be able to get a good job. Uh, yeah, but I would say just reach out to more people, talk to more people. I think uh, in my college days, one of the mistakes I made was that I never reached out to a lot of senior people or any alumni myself. I thought they are too busy, they won't help out XYZ. Uh, and in retrospect, I should have. Uh, I think if people see strong interest, people definitely help out. And if you reach out to 100 people, at least 10 people will help out, or 5 people will help out. But I think the hard work is in reaching out to 100 people, that people should do if they are interested, or in whichever field they are interested. If you're interested in coding, do that in coding. I mean, uh,
So we have a follow-up question from Disha. So to get the data from competitors, etc., where should we get the data? Like, would you suggest some sites, especially for startups?
yeah, Ritna, see, this is not a formulaic job. If this was formulaic, ki, you get this data on this website, then AI could do it, as I mentioned before. This is, and I don't know what startup she's talking about, but say a startup like, I don't know which, say a startup like Physics Wala. I think most of the audience would know about Physics Wala, right? Then the competitor would be, say, Alan, would be Fitji. So some of these are registered companies. They file financial statements with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So um, you can access their financial statements. Or what you do is you try to what we do when evaluating certain things is we try to speak with people who currently work in the organization and who help us provide data saying, okay, uh, an academy has say 90,000 people this year, and that is growing at say 20% year on year, and that helps us keep updated with the data. What is the revenue per student, and so on and so forth. We generally do it on calls, or we ask our commercial DD partners, like like one of the MBB firms, to also to help us out with competitor data. The way they do it is also by engaging with the companies or with the competitors, because nobody publishes these things, and this data is generally sensitive. So the way you do it is by talking to people. Yeah, that would be that. Yeah.
So we have another question from Vamshi. How did you choose your specific role or area of finance? What
Mm.
do you enjoy most about it?
Mm, okay. So one would be how I arrived upon it. So I liked the idea of investing in my third and fourth years of college. There was obviously that COVID crash and then subsequent boom, and that really fueled my interest in the stock market. Then I read about Warren Buffett and other pedigreed investors. What does Warren Buffett look like what does Warren Buffett look for in a company? How does he make investment decisions? How has he lived his life, and so on and so forth. Uh, that is what I was interested in. I read much more about it. I tried to find people who were interested in the same things as me, and then so that is part one. That is how I got interested in investing, and I always knew I wanted to do investing, at least for a certain amount, for a certain period in my career. And so that is on investing. Uh, the second question was on what do you enjoy the most about your job? Yeah, so again, I would say two things. One is, for example, the amount of learning is truly unbelievable. So, for example, one day we might be evaluating, investing in a hospital. And so for that, we may try to understand the healthcare industry in India, for example, which are the top hospital chains in India, and what does their unit economics look like? Why have those businesses done well? So on and so forth. What is the secret sauce essentially that helps Apollo Hospital or Manipal Hospital to have to have so many beds and to scale so rapidly. Uh, uh, so okay, so we might be working on hospitals at the same time. We may be working on say life insurance, or we may be working on say a consumer tech company like Zomato, right? What has allowed Zomato or to win? How does Zomato compare to Swiggy? Or we might be working on say a SaaS startup like a Mo Engage, and so the amount of learning you get is across industries, and it is not very uh, and you go pretty deep into the business. You try to understand what are the real needle movers here and what is the secret sauce, and so you understand things in depth, or we try to understand things in depth, which is fun for me at least. uh, that is that is part one of what I really like about my job. And the second part is that I really like meeting, or being in meeting rooms with super accomplished people. We invest in pretty late stage businesses, right? So these are large companies, and we have management meetings with the CXOs of these companies, where Most of the times, even the most junior team member, which is me, is taken along to these meetings. And that is, I think, another adrenaline kick, that you get to meet the corporate CXO layer of large Indian or global companies. Uh, so these are the two things I enjoy most. Yeah.
Thank you, Atharv. So we have another question from Krish. It goes, how can we improve guesstimates?
Yeah, there are a lot of resources online. There are, at least in my time, which was like 3 years back, right? There were two, three case study books, which some of the seniors would provide access to. I think one was written by a few IIT Madras folks. Uh, One is written by, I think, IIT Bombay folks, and third one I don't recall. But just speak to people who have gotten jobs in MBB companies or have secured internships. I think the biggest superpower of being in IIT is you have access to a lot of very good people, seniors, batchmates, and alumni who have done well. And you should try to reach out to as many people as you can, try to understand how their journey was. And um, and yeah, so that's it. And I have never tried using AI to improve estimates, but I'm sure, I'm 90-95% sure that if you ask ChatGPT to tell you that, give me a guesstimate, and then you type out your approach in the chatbot, and you can do it as a you can practice it with AI also, is would be my view. I think in my time there was this guy called Victor Cheng or somebody. He has like 11 or 12 good YouTube videos, so maybe you can try watching those also. Yeah, he also has written a book. So, but maybe you should start with YouTube videos. That takes less cognitive load, I think.
Uh, Hello, hello. Am I
Hello.
audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I have one question. This gives me a lot of starting inertia. The thing is that don't you think investing with my own money at this stage when I don't earn myself is a bit risky? Even though
Mm,
learning is something you should start early, but considering the fact that the
mm.
money we get right now is from our parents only mainly, so
Right.
starting out
Okay.
with that kind of asset,
Got it. Got it. Yeah.
yes.
So, okay. No, fair question. And what I would say is that maybe don't start this too early, in the sense that, if you need, say, 50,000 rupees for the semester fees or something, or your stay during the semester, then don't invest that money. Invest whatever is surplus money for you. If you have surplus money, maybe you can try investing a certain portion of that in the markets. Or what you can do is create a paper portfolio where you say, okay, in my decisions, I have said that I would invest in HDFC Bank today because of X, Y, and Z, because of, say, these five reasons. And maybe 3 months later, when the next quarter's results come out, or 6 months later, when 2 quarters have passed, you come back to that list. You say, how has my stock pick done? How has my stock pick done versus the market? So, for example, say HDFC Bank goes up, say, 20% in the next 6 months, but the overall index or the overall market has gone up, say, 40%. Then, even though if you have made 20% money, you have underperformed versus the market. So you should think, okay, what did I get wrong? And how have what I predicted, so I predicted X, Y, and Z, how has that played out versus reality. You should think about it 6 months later. And you can do that for, say, five stock picks today, and not invest any money, but just write down why you would invest in X, Y, and Z things. But it is very important to document it, and then compare the results, say, 6 months later, 1 year later, and so on and so forth. So I think you can definitely do that. And what I mean is that you don't need to invest a large chunk of your savings. What may help you is if you can buy one share, right? You can open a demat account. You can buy one share. One share costs say 1,500 rupees. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty certain that that much is affordable. So you can buy one share, which helps you track your decision. So you can say, okay, I'm going to invest only 10,000 rupees in the market for the next say 1 year till the time I do say another internship and get some money from it or whatever by whatever ways. And maybe 5,000 rupees, and you decide how you want to split that 5,000 rupees across say 5 stocks or 10 stocks or 25 stocks, and maintain a Excel or maintain a tracker about why you made certain decisions and how they played out. Yeah,
Thanks a lot, Atharv. That answers my question.
cool.
If anyone have any other questions, feel free to ask them.
Cool, guys. I think you can reach out to me if you need any other help, any other questions if you have, and maybe I can try to help out. So uh, thanks for your time. Really enjoyed the session.
Yes, sir. So, and everyone, like Mr. Atharva would be providing a mentorship. Like we'll be sharing a QR. Please scan it. If you want to be a mentee under him, you could just scan the QR code and please fill the Google form.
Thanks a lot, Atharva. It was a very insightful session from your end. I would love to reach out to you in the future as well. If I have some, so I'll fill the form.
Sure.
Please scan the QR and fill the Google form.
Cool, guys. See you.
Thank you,
And
Atharva, for the session.
apologies for scheduling this on a Saturday evening. I think you all might have plans tonight. So have fun.
Like, thank you for coming and giving the talks.
Cool. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.